Greetings, wise ones. It's Melissa from Eighth House Wisdom, astrological coach and integrative psychotherapist. Um, I really wanted to leave a video about the astro weather that we've been experiencing within this week. It has been an extremely potent week. I spoke about it on my friend's show, Art Loves Fashion, and I have done some posts about it on my page, but I wanted to come and give a bit of a breakdown because we are one day out from the rare great conjunction in the sign of Aquarius, and that is going to happen on December 21st, which is also the shortest day of the year. And this rare great conjunction, like I said, it only happens every 20 years. The last time we experienced that energy and that particular conjunction was, I believe, May 13th, 2000, so nearly 20 years ago. And it is also the heralding of what is happening within this week, a completely different shift in elemental kind of patterns. Astrology is nothing if not a series of cycles and patterns. And this is how any astrologer, kind of gleans information about how the planetary movements affect what's happening to you in a real life scenario. And so for the past 200 years, we've been experiencing outer planets. And those outer planets are ones that are more generational and they affect people, our society at large. So Saturn, which is the planet of structure and boundaries and karma and kind of has grandfatherly energy, and then Jupiter, who is about excess and expansion and luck. Those they have been cycling through the earth signs of Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn for the past 200 years. And so within this week, and why this week is so potent, we started off with a new moon total solar eclipse, which really kind of is a new moon on drugs. It intensifies its energy. It lengthens the period of time that any new beginning, which is what new moons favor, might take to be nurtured or to reach its completion, or a point of release, which is what the full moon points to. So with energy like this, with this total solar eclipse on the new moon in the sign of Sagittarius on the 14th, you can expect that energy will still be unfurling for the next 90 days or so. And so that's a really powerful thing. And you can ask yourself what big things occurred for you on that day, or around that day, and during that particular period of time, as well as looking at where Sagittarius falls in your natal chart to get more information. I know in particular, my natal moon is in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius rules my house of partnership. I did get some surprise news about an old partnership on that day that really did kind of mark a sense of a new beginning for me. One that involved release of energy, like the final clearance of that, and the beginning of something new. The next day was Venus moving into Sagittarius as well. And so that meant we had the sun and the moon and Venus in Sagittarius all at once. And so definitely our sense of ego, our sense of comfort, and our sense of beauty, what we love, what we attract, are all being influenced by Sagittarian, high-minded, philosophical, somewhat spiritual energy right now. there's a lot of activity with Sagittarius Venus in a fire sign like Sag is going to be outspoken and really going to want to find aspects of freedom and people to relate to, especially around belief systems. And that can be a bit challenging right now because of the space that we're under. We're still under aspects of quarantine. Phases have been moving backwards to becoming more restrictive. And that can really put a damper on being able to dive deeper into that energy. But that's why the next two aspects that happened, which were Saturn moving into the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is the innovator, the revolutionary, the disruptor. And Saturn is the lord of karma and grandfather time, moving into that. It's Saturn's presence in its natally ruled sign, Capricorn, that has been bringing us the heaviness that we've been experiencing for most of 2020. And with it, it was the Lord of Karma and Grandfather Time in the sign of, restriction. So we were really feeling bound up, as evidenced by this global pandemic and shutdown. And so this planet moving out of the sign of Capricorn and into Aquarius is a big deal because Saturn takes 2.5 years to move. So it was in the last 9 months of this transition that we really started experiencing significant difficulties, aka the year that it wouldn't quit, 2020. But moving into that disruptive, future-loving kind of sign of Aquarius means that there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. This is a slower-moving planet, so we're not going to immediately expect to see something happen as a result of this. But you probably have felt foreshadowing of the inner shift. And looking ahead, we can experience probably some new areas of expansion because of the futurist energy. And we are going to be thinking more about what's our responsibility in the future, our responsibility to the planet, our responsibility to ourselves moving forward. And we may be encountering some real life situations where boundaries and limitations about the rollout of the future, so to speak, technologies and future plans may get challenged. But for now, we can kind of take a bit of a deep sigh and go, brighter days are to come. Yesterday on December 19th, Jupiter followed suit and moved into the sign of Aquarius. Now, Jupiter usually takes somewhere between 12 to 14 months to transit the entire zodiac. So we will have yet another time of experiencing Jupiter's expansive energy in the same sign as Capricorn's focusing, structuring, and more restrictive energy. And so that will be an interesting pair up. 2020 was a lot about go small, Saturn's restrictions, aka be in your house and move in a small circle with a tight pot of people to keep safe. And in that, there's space for you to expand and connect and reach out, Jupiter's influence. But the expansion happened because we were in a tighter held kind of container. And so now Jupiter is going to be stimulating thoughts about progressive ideas and technologies, and ways to deal with the world, probably, post this pandemic, even as it relates to antiquated kind of systems of economics, and seeing how the environment has returned because of our lack of travel and not being able to go places. And Aquarius is also a very humanitarian kind of sign and loves the environment. And so there will also be some thoughts about what can we do to expand the healing that we've kind of inadvertently received, because all humans kind of had to sit down for a little bit. And how do we leverage that versus jumping right back into our previous lifestyles and, blowing past it and doing what we've always been doing within our planet. And so that now means that we've got the sun. The moon is no longer there, but we've got the sun and Venus in Sagittarius. And we have Saturn and Jupiter moving into Aquarius. And tomorrow, we can anticipate, Mercury is also in, it was. As of yesterday, it was in Sagittarius. Today, Mercury has moved in to the sign of Capricorn, which is on the horizon, because tomorrow is also when the sun will be moving in to that sign on the shortest day of the year. And now with Jupiter and Saturn in the same sign, they're going to have a rare conjunction that actually will be visible in the sky in some places, coupled with a meteor shower. And so these two planets, orbs, as we like to call them in astrology, will be so close to each other that it will literally almost look like a double planet in the sky. You'll be able to see what will look like my favorite number in 8, or the 8 sideways infinity sign when you look up in the sky with telescope and can see these luminaries. They're not luminaries, they're planets. Luminaries would be the sun and the moon, because they are light givers. Planets are planets. So, but these two planets making this rare conjunction will probably bring us an unexpected jolt. Again, Aquarius is the disruptor. It's the innovator. It's the future. And so, sitting here speaking from a somewhat analytical and somewhat predictive space, it still kind of brings to bear that what we can expect is the unexpected. But hopefully in a good way. Unexpected thought patterns, unexpected moves, potential liberation of certain long-standing traditions, because Saturn also represents government, long-standing traditions of any kind. There's so many potential implications on a high and holy magical day like the 21st, because of what is happening with the light. But in addition to these two planets meeting up, that it's really a good time to kind of go within and to work with your shadow, primarily because it's going to be the darkest day of the year and the shortest day. The shadow isn't anything that we need to be afraid of. The energy that's going to be happening on this day is going to be able to supercharge your ability to do deep shadow work, and to really make some headway. You cannot work with or conquer anything that you won't make friends with. The shadow is not to be feared. We don't know light without shadow. And so on this day, as we're descending into the shadow, recognizing that we can make great strides in working through, on an inner level, on a personal level, how you deal with tradition and how you deal with boundaries, how you deal with masculine energy, the sacred masculine, how you deal with paternalistic energy and patriarchy on a personal level and on a global level. We can go up and down that scale. And then also on an internal level, where you have a tendency towards excess and towards expansion, where you tend to be lucky, where you really like hit a sweet spot and get things in really at a good place, good space, and tend to expand and experience ease without trying. That's the meetup of the energetic vibe of the day. So it's a time I would suggest that everybody take to go pull from the well that is the shadow, to learn something really critical about who you are, what you're about, and what you want to bring forward into the new year. Go deep into the recesses of your mind. Go deep into the body's intelligence. Go deep into your emotional and spiritual intelligence. Go deep into your sense of connection to the world outside of you, and figure out what's blocking you so that you can expand and be the best person that you can be. That's the power of astrology. It's not like these things aren't things we should always be doing, it is not as if these aren't things we shouldn't already be doing on some level to develop ourselves and to develop our person. But the power of understanding that the earth and the heavens are energetically vibrating with this energy. So it will be a good time to get in sync with them and ride that wave versus working cross purposes and coming up with other stuff to do that may not be energetically favored, or missing an opportunity to really do some deep level excavation because the heavens are supporting you. That is the power of using astrology at this level. To maximize and to synchronize yourself with your success cycles. And in a week like this, where literally 6 of the visible planets in the sky are changing. The sun, the moon, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, and Venus. So we're talking about the sun, ourself, our sense of self, the moon, our emotional environment, and what allows us to feel comfortable. Mercury, our mindset and our way of communication, how we speak and how we think. Venus, what we attract and how we tap into the sacred feminine and what we love. Jupiter, in its expansive energy, creating cycles of luck and excess. And Saturn, who's here to remind us that you got to pay the piper sometime. So hopefully you've got good karma. And excess is great, but we need to know boundaries or we might fall off. I mean, when you have a week in the heavens that moves all of those markers, you know it's a powerful time. And the more you understand how each one of those movements relates to personal processes for yourself, the better you can tap into that energy. The more you know about your own chart, again, what planets you have in each one of these signs, Do you have many planets in the sign of Sagittarius? Do you have many planets in the sign of Capricorn? That also means that any of those planets in your natal chart are going to get an extra bump or a nudge. That's what a transit is. And so then we just get to further refine and further explore how the movement on the heavenly level is affecting us individually and specifically down here on the earthly plane. This is why I study astrology. And within the new year, I'm preparing to come out with a program that really assists everyone in being able to access this level of information deeply and personally so that they can really understand and make the best use of our time. The program is called Your Stellar Birthright, Unlocking Your Life's Secret Instruction Manual Through the Power of Astrology. And in the course of what we'll be doing in that program, it's going to give people an opportunity to identify some of these things that I'm talking about right now, where these planets show up personally for you in your own birth chart, how that interacts with what the planets are doing right now, and how to get you to really be able to maximize and synchronize your activities, your life, your business, your relationships to the personal success cycles that are happening in the heavens and are happening within your own personal astrology, as well as identifying some places where there may be a challenge on the horizon. And that's when knowledge can be power, and knowing that can allow you to better negotiate the terms and to gather more resources and to be better prepared. So I really just wanted to leave this video because I wanted to be able to give everybody a little bit of stellar GPS, because that's what you need. We need to be able to understand what's happening as above, so below. This year has been a mystifying year. The more we understand what's happening above, the less crazy it will seem when things show up below that kind of deviate from our normally scheduled programs, like this whole year has been. And since we're going out with such a bang, I really wanted to help give people some more insight about what's happening so that they can use this information in important ways for themselves. If you're interested in getting a reading from me or learning more about your stellar birthright, I have a free guide on my website right now at 8thhousewisdom.com. You can head over there and grab that so you can learn a little bit more and get some more insight about what it is that I'm saying that's happening for this week and for the remainder of the month. But I will say that this is going to be a significant time where our minds are going to be opening and where we're moving into, as I started off the video, a new 200-year epic cycle of focusing on the element of air, of the element of thought and of communication, moving through the signs of Aquarius, of Libra, and of Gemini. And we're starting with the most advanced air sign, Aquarius, which has high-minded thought and sends shock waves through the air. that's what its glyph looks like. So I hope you all will be able to access pieces of this, um, or take some useful point of information as we see and experience how the energetics of this week will continue to play out until the rest of the year. Um, Signing off, this is Melissa from 8th House Wisdom. I'm wishing you guys a lot of light, especially as we approach our day of shadow, and love. Take care.